Hi, my name is Robert McLeman, and this is a short video for students in Wilfrid Laurier University course ES102. It's an introduction to the fourth of 5 labs in the course in which we talk about environmental toxins. This is an issue that's been of growing interest to people for a variety of reasons. One of the concerns that people have is that we are increasingly exposed to a large number of potentially toxic chemicals from a wide variety of sources, everything from agriculture to industry, through the food we eat, to the cleaning products that we use in our homes, to the vehicles we drive, and all sorts of other sources. Now, in the last century or so, scientists have introduced tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of new chemicals into the environment. Now, typically, these chemicals are tested for their short-term toxicity, that is, how harmful they are in the short term to living organisms. But not all of them are tested equally well in terms of their longer-term toxicity. That is, their cumulative toxicity. What happens when you're exposed to small amounts of these chemicals for long periods of time? Also, what we tend not to do is we tend not to test them in terms of their combinations and how they might become toxic. So, two chemicals that on their own may not be harmful could in theory become harmful if they are combined either in the environment or if they become combined in the tissues of living things. And these are things that we don't necessarily test with as much rigor as we might. Now, there's two terms that we want to talk about in this lab. One is short-term acute toxicity, and the other is longer-term cumulative toxicity, and it's this latter one that we're particularly interested in. Now, there's two processes that contribute to longer-term toxicity. One of them is the process of bioaccumulation. That is, there are certain compounds out there that do not break down easily in nature. They're persistent. And some of these can become accumulated in the tissues of living organisms. And over time they start to build up. That's the process of bioaccumulation. A related process is called biomagnification. Now, that happens when toxins get into the food chain, and then as you move up the food chain, as higher level organisms consume the tissues of lower level organisms, the level or concentration of toxins magnifies as you move up the food chain. So, for example, a bird like a seagull that eats dead fish that it finds on the beach accumulates the toxins of the dead fish that it consumes. And so the concentration of toxins in the tissues of the seagull will be greater than the concentrations of the toxins found in the tissues of the food it eats. So that's a process called biomagnification. Now, these two processes, bioaccumulation and biomagnification, can contribute to increasing the exposure of an organism, including humans, to increasingly higher levels of toxins for extended periods of time. Now, I was inspired to put this lab together when I traveled recently, and I purchased a little travel-sized deodorant to take with me on my trip. And there was a couple regrets that I had about it. One is that I realized after the fact that it's an awful lot of plastic for an awful short use. The other thing is that when I looked at the ingredients to this deodorant, it's actually an antiperspirant, I noticed that there were 5 different chemicals in there that I was not familiar with. So I did a little research on them, and of these 5 chemical compounds, 2 of them have been tested and shown to be harmless. Of the other 3, there was a variety of different concerns that I had about them. 2 of them, for example, are potential environmental toxins. So they don't necessarily represent a harm to humans, but released into the environment, they could become harmful for other living things. Now, granted, when I shower and wash off the antiperspirant, only very fine traces of that chemical are going to make their way into the environment. But again, if you think of the process of bioaccumulation and biomagnification, if these chemicals are persistent and lots of people are using them, they can, in theory, build up in the environment. The other thing that I was a little bit concerned about is that there is one ingredient in this antiperspirant that is indeed a human health risk. Now, tests have been done to show that it is very difficult to accumulate much of this particular chemical simply by absorption through the skin. But the point being, it got me wondering, why did I purchase this product in the first place if I'm exposing myself and the environment to all these different types of chemicals? So that is sort of the inspiration for this lab. So what we're going to do this week in the lab is a couple things. One is, in the lab meeting with our lab instructors, we're going to watch a short film about chemicals in everyday products, either cleaning products or personal hygiene products, and we're going to have a discussion about the nature of these products, the nature of these chemicals, why we use them, are they wise choices that we're making, and so on, and just sort of test our reactions to these products and to the film as well. The second thing you're going to do is that after the lab, you're going to go home and you're either going to look under your bathroom sink or in the laundry room or wherever you keep either cleaning products or personal hygiene products, and you're going to look through them. You need to find at least 5 in any category, and what you need to do is to look at those products and look at their ingredients. And if you find any chemicals that you don't recognize, then what you're going to do is to do a little research on the internet to find out whether those chemicals have been tested, whether they represent any harm or potential harm either to humans or the environment, and you're going to tabulate these. And then hopefully you're going to be able to write a 2-page report on what you found and what you think ought to be done with respect to some of these chemical ingredients that we find in everyday products. Now, I should reiterate, or I should iterate here, that the goal of this lab is not to get you paranoid or scared. The reality is that humans today live longer, healthier lives than humans at any point in history. And we are also exposed to higher levels of chemicals and toxins than any humans living previously. So the fact that these things are out there is not necessarily something to get into a panic about. The point of the lab is simply to get you thinking about the types of choices that we make with our everyday products, and to decide whether or not we actually need these chemical compounds in them to maintain the cleanliness of our homes, or to maintain our appearance, or to maintain our personal hygiene. I'm going to leave it at that. So I hope you enjoy the lab. And in case you haven't figured it out, yes, I am indeed in my bathroom with the products that I'm talking about, and I'm going to do an inventory as well. So thanks very much, and I'll talk to you in class.